Welcome to the ExecMBA podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you're listening to a new episode. On this episode of the podcast, I'm excited to share my recent conversation with Jim Collins and Jennifer Windus. Jim and Jennifer are career coaches with our professional degree program's career team, and I recently connected with them to talk more about the professional advancement course, a required credit-bearing course that all executive MBA and part-time MBA students take here at the Darden School of Business. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. And as always, if this conversation is helpful for you, please like this episode and subscribe to the ExecMBA podcast so you never miss an update. And remember, you can always check the episode description for links to Darden blogs, social channels, and more. And now, without further ado, here's my conversation with Jim Collins and Jennifer Windus. Jim, Jennifer, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Brett, good to be here. Nice to see you again.
Thank you, Brett.
Yeah, thank y'all for being here. Jim, how are you doing? How's everything?
Well, we're surviving Snowmageddon, still trying to, I skate on my front lawn if I want to ice skate, but aside from that, life is good.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a warm snap. Whenever that is, it's weird. This ice just keeps hanging around. So it feels like Groundhog Day.
You may be waiting for a while.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Jennifer, how's everything with you?
Very well, Brett. Thank you for inviting me to join the podcast. I'm excited to share information about PAC.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Professional Advancement Course, or PAC as it's known. Before we get into that, tell us a little bit more about you. I want to learn about both of you. Some of our listeners may recognize your voices. You're repeat guests here on the podcast. But for folks who are new to the podcast, tell us a little bit more about you and your background. Jennifer, we'll start with you.
Sure. Thank you, Brett. Like many workers, I've made a few career pivots. After earning my MBA, I worked in financial services, in trade finance and project finance. Then my first pivot was to start my own business, which was an advisory firm. Then I made a second pivot, which was to higher education. My current role is executive career coach for working professional students.
All right. We're thrilled that you're at Darden, Jennifer, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how you support students in just a second. But Jim, tell us more about your background.
Well, I guess the easiest way to make sense of me is that I have built my entire career around organizational, executive, and management development. It's really been in three buckets. There's work in that org psych, org development, training development, consulting space. There's serving in senior executive positions for three different trade associations, running their education, training, consulting services, certification services. And now for the last 16 years of my career, I've been serving as a kind of career coach, an advisor, where I really focus on helping people get their arms around the transitions and transformations that they're seeking in their lives. And I too am an executive coach and also have responsibilities for the education programs that we run for the MBAs and part-time MBAs.
Yeah, the thing I love about both your stories is this sort of like various chapters that have kind of led you to your time here at Darden. Jim, what do you enjoy about working with students on their career goals?
Well, what don't I enjoy? I think is more the point. There is such heterogeneity, such diversity when the students, they're coming in from such a variety of life stages and industries and functional areas, and they are headed in a million different directions. And if we have an MBA class, say, of 135 or so, and maybe another part-time MBA class of 70, 75, you got 215, 20 students all headed in very different directions, each one of them on their own unique journey. And each one present very interesting and I think fascinating puzzles to help them get their arms around that and get from where they are to wherever it is they want to go and define who they are. And it is a unfolding realization process in that never ceases to interest me and captivate me.
And Jennifer, how about you? What do you enjoy about working with students on their career goals?
So one of the things I really enjoy about my job is that no 2 days are ever the same because every student is on their own unique career path. Students come to Darden with differing professional backgrounds and hope to leverage that for the path that meets their goals. We categorize students into 3 paths: climbing, switching, and entrepreneurship. Within those 3 paths, there is endless variability. What I most enjoy is helping students unlock their professional purpose.
It strikes me, Jennifer, you and I really just enjoy the same thing. I'm struck by the similarities between us and what so captivates us about this role.
Indeed.
Yeah, a lot of resonance in the two answers you provided. Uh, Jim, obviously we were talking about the professional advancement course. How do you see this course fitting into the overall career support architecture for professional degree students here at Darden?
So we start with the premise that the almost 100% of the students are coming to Darden fundamentally and primarily because they're hoping to leverage the degree to transform their career in some fashion. Now, they realize very quickly that may be their primary reason for coming, but they have no time to work on that. And so there's a lot of resources that we offer to students for climbing, switching, entrepreneurship, as Jennifer just mentioned. But PAC is the place where we kick that process off in many ways. We carve out a week of time where they are focused on um, shifting away from all the academic requirements that they have, putting those aside, and just focus on their career agenda for being here. So, and in doing so, it's really has two pillars to it. One is let's create a roadmap and socialize that roadmap. Let's start conversations among the students about who are you, where are you going, what do you need to learn to get from point A to point B, and what are the networks you need to build and relationships you need to establish to assist you. And secondarily, let's focus on significantly advancing your exploration of career path alternatives. So it begins that process then, and you walk away with a shiny action plan for making that happen, so you can work on throughout your time here in the program at Darden.
That course falls in between the fall and spring semester, to your point. It's a 10-day course. The January term essentially is this term in between fall and spring semester at the University of Virginia. That's where PAC is cited. Students can take it in the first year or second year of the program, although the vast majority of students take it in their first year. Jennifer, high level, if you were to describe kind of the activities, what's in this bundle that we call the professional advancement course, how would you describe the course to students?
So, well, Brett, I'll share with you the four learning objectives of PAC. The first is to significantly increase your exposure to and network within the Darden alumni community. And every year, students tell us when they attend PAC, they are so impressed by how strong the Darden alumni network and community is, that there's lots of good stories of students helping each other. Sometimes it's even resulted in a job. The second objective is to enable students to learn from those alumni about their professional advancement journeys and consider the implications for the student. The third is developing your roadmap or action plan for defining and achieving your professional advancement objectives. And the fourth one is to further exploration of alternate career options. Students can't possibly know every MBA path before they come to school. So it's a great way for them to open their aperture and learn about some different possibilities.
And all that happens in basically a week, 10 days or so, relatively compressed timeline. Can you tell us a little bit more about the schedule? We get a lot of questions from prospective students in particular, who look at the PAC course in the January term and they say, well, how does that course actually work? Is it in person? Is it online? Jennifer, can you say a little bit more about that?
Sure. So the placement of the PAC course is intentional. As you mentioned, it sits between the fall and the spring, so it sits between Q2 and Q3 during the J term. The reason that we do this is so that students have time to really focus on their career path very early in the program before they think about electives. Usually, but not always before they start to make a career move. The class is a hybrid. It's a mix of both virtual classes, and then the final day, which is called Career Exploration Day, is in person at SFG for the day. So it's a hybrid version.
And Jim, I know this is a class. PAC has obviously gone through some evolution, it's constantly being updated. What are some of the highlights from the recent course that jump out to you when you think about this most recent iteration?
So some of the major ones is that to really support and assist the working professional students with their career agenda, it takes a village. I've already talked about the tremendous diversity there, and there's no one particular resource. So part of that village is we have involved like 72 alumni were involved in producing or contributing to some substantive component of PAC. So the Saturday career exploration event that Jennifer just referred to. I mean, we had 65, 66 alumni, I think, something like that, show up. 14 panels talking about careers in a very broad spectrum of industries and functions. We talk about consulting and corporate strategy and chief of staff roles. We talk about careers in technology, careers in energy, careers in nonprofits, and the list goes on from there. So, I mean, that is certainly one of the highlights of that. And you have an opportunity each of these panels has about 5 alumni on them, one alumni moderating 4 panel members. And you have opportunities not just to hear what career paths into those functions and industry are about, but to interact with the alumni, and get and raise questions so that you walk away with a not just a greater sense of your optionality, but also in many cases, people confirming that either what they knew is in fact true and the choices they have made are good ones, or opening doors to other pathways that never occurred to them. That's one of the high points, I think, of the course.
I didn't realize it was 72 alumni involved in the course.
72 alumni. Yes, it is one of Darden's largest gatherings of alumni outside of the annual reunion, and it's really become a signature event, not just for Sands Family Grounds, but I think for Darden as a whole.
And I would just add that on top of that, we add some of the center directors. So the center director for the Mayo Institute of Asset Management was also there and was one of the moderators. And another of the moderators was the executive director of Batten's Institute for Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Technology.
And we also had UVA's Real Estate Institute as well. Very nice, very nice. You really get a sense of much richer sense of the community and the village that's there to support your professional advancement.
Jim, I'm thinking about this. So 72 alumni volunteering their time, not compensated in any kind of way for this. Oftentimes choosing to come in on a Saturday, right? The career exploration event is on a Saturday.
Just after New Year's too. I mean, we do pay for their parking, and they get free food and snacks, but aside from that, but I think, Brett, this is just an example of the commitment and the interest that the alumni have in supporting the current students. To line up those 72 alumni to participate in PAC, we probably had to approach like 85 of them. And the 13 that turned us down did so apologetically. And they said, "Oh, I can't do it. I got these other commitments, but please keep me in mind for other opportunities."
Yeah, to me, that's a great example of the Darden Alumni Network. And I so love seeing the LinkedIn posts after this event.
Oh, yeah.
Invariably for the next 2 weeks, my LinkedIn is all full of like alumni posting, "I was on this panel. I was excited to be back at Sands Family Grounds," or "excited to connect with Darden in the DC metro area, talking with our students." It's awesome to see. Jennifer, what was the highlight for you when you think about this recent PAC course?
I think definitely what Jim talked about, which is the career exploration day. Students walked away with a much broader view of what they were interested. For some students attending some of the panels, which were mostly by function and industry, sometimes it confirmed the path that was students on. Other times, students would say they attended a panel they didn't know much about, and they were so excited afterwards, and they would say, "Oh, this panel on such and such job function or industry, I didn't realize this was an MBA career path. And after talking to the panelists, I realized this is something I want to explore." And again, that's why we do it so early between Q2 and Q3 so that students have time to process that and think about it. And then we encourage students to reach out to the panelists for more one-on-one follow-up later to further refine that. In fact, Brett, I understand you recently recorded another podcast interviewing some executive MBA students on their take on PAC. So as soon as it's published, I'm very excited to listen to it. But on top of the career exploration day, some of the other highlights included the branding session, where students had the chance to really think about and reflect on what is their professional brand. And is it what they want to be? Do they need to change it to get to their next step? Or some students say that they just want to spend more time thinking about it. And besides crafting it, we also break students into small breakout groups or learning teams, and they give each other peer feedback and encourage each other to work on that. And a couple of those learning teams have told me that they're still working on that now. They're meeting again to continue to refine their branding once they understood that that was something they wanted to work on. Um, Other things was students also worked on their networking plan, and they also started to refine their destination. Now, for each student, that may be a little different. Some students are ready to say their destination is a specific job with a function in industry. Other students, for destination, they're trying to refine their purpose, their place. What does destination mean for them? So it starts them on their way early in the program.
Yeah, and to that point, Jennifer, it's not just to create plans for those things, but as I mentioned a little bit earlier in this podcast, there's also opportunities to socialize that plans, to share it with, a small group of your fellow students, um, get feedback on it, help advance your thinking about it. But it's also an opportunity for you to actually begin thinking about that, because as I mentioned, the first 2 quarters, you're so, up to your eyeballs in academic content, trying to get adjusted to the new processes, procedures, and whatnot, and systems, and rearrange your life, that your career agenda, your primary reason for being here, has been put on hold. So PAC is the place where we really open the door to enabling you to re-engage with that.
I appreciate so much of what both of y'all shared. It really aligns with the conversation I had with the students where they were talking about how nice it was just to have space to kind of think about what they want to do and really maybe test some of the assumptions. One of the students said, you know what, I went to some of these presentations actually in discussions and I changed my plans. And the other student said, I went to some things and it affirmed my plans. And so, two different student experiences, but all kind of born out of the same kind of, you're putting a lot of content out there, you're giving them opportunities to sort of ask these questions and engage. I think that's really, to me, one of the great things about PAC, and also you're getting credit for it.
Those are both great. Those are both great student outcomes, either confirming a plan or changing the plan. Those are both equally valid outcomes.
Jim, I'm curious. That's my opinion about the PAC course, but what is your feeling about the real value of the PAC course, and obviously having dedicated time, credit bearing time in a professional degree program to think about your career?
If I had to pick one thing, I would say it's engaging with the community. And once again, like I said, it takes a village. Um, no one size fits all. There are so many buckets of resources in that village that support one's career agenda and their professional advancement objectives. That it connects you with that community in a more substantive fashion, and it also connects you with your fellow students. Um, as I think I mentioned earlier, you know, your conversations with your learning team, your conversations with your fellow students through the first couple of quarters has been all about the academic content and preparing for cases, preparing for classes, and so forth. Um, and that's important. Make no mistake, but that's not the primary reason you're here. The primary reason here is like, hey, I really want something to happen different in my life, and and I haven't given any thought or any opportunity for that. I have not engaged with the networks in any meaningful way, not just within my class, but within the larger Darden community. And PAC offers an opportunity to really uh, begin that in a much larger sense.
Jennifer, what do you think? What's the value, in your opinion? What's the value of the PAC course?
Well, I would echo everything Jim said, that the power of the Darden network is important for students to be immersed in. One of the things that comes out of PAC is students walk away with what we call a career reference resource tool, which is a list of all current students, both EMBA cohorts and years, and then all the part-time cohorts and years. And it's the lowest hanging fruit for a way to start networking within the Darden community, both for information interviews to learn what other people do for a living, and then also possibly later for contacts as one is searching for a job. I also feel one of the benefits of PAC is that students start to work on planning their career early. So they have plenty of time to think about it, process it, reflect on classes that they're taking and see how that their interest fits in with that plan. So I think the timing is very important as well.
That timing point, when I think about the executive MBA timeline, it's a 21-month program. Really, that first year is a time of exploration, and then if students are looking to make a transition, it's really in that second year when they start applying for things and interviewing for things, ideally setting something up for around the time of graduation. Part-time MBA students, standard pacing about a 33-month program, so a year longer. So really kind of the first 2 years or so are exploration for part-time MBA students. Jennifer, is that how you think about the timeline for these respective student populations?
I would say yes, with an asterisk in that each student has their own path. We've had students who have needed to make a career change very early in their time at Darden for individual reasons, and some who don't want to make a change till after their degree for other reasons. But as a general rule, yes. For MBAs, they tend to spend their first year in core, and then the second year is when they start to drill down and thinking and planning and then potentially making an actual career change more or less around graduation, as you said. And the part-times, as they have a longer program of 33 months, some will wait till around graduation, and others, because they have a long runway, may make two steps to their destination. Perhaps they'll switch jobs once to get closer to where they want to be and then switch them again. Or if the student is climbing, then they have to figure out the climbing timing both for their employer and for themselves. So generally, it's one climb around graduation, but sometimes for each student, it's individual.
Jim, you've thought a lot about and I know the career team generally has thought a lot about the sort of the educational component of the career support. For executive MBA students, PAC is the beginning
Yes.
of this journey, and it continues into a series of courses called experiential learning. Do you want to talk about how PAC connects for executive MBA students, how it connects to experiential learning?
Yeah. So PAC, like everyone walks out of PAC with this like action plan. We call it a roadmap. And I was like, okay, I got me one of these things now. And I've sort of thought about how I want my journey to unfold. And then, of course, they're hit by quarter three with all the quantitative class, or whatever. And that roadmap, that action plan gets put on a shelf and collects dust. So we don't let you go, though. So you come back in Q4, 5, and 6. We have experiential learning 1 and 2, and we have experiential learning 3 and 4 that happen in Q7 and Q8. And think of experiential learning as the place where you're now called upon to dust off that action plan and actually work on some material component of it to essentially kick the can a little further down the road. Make some progress on whatever that professional advancement agenda is. Now, challenges like, well, how do you create a course with such heterogeneity or such diversity, among the students? And so what we've done is we've created a modularized course. It has 3 tracks. There's an entrepreneurial track, there's a professional advancement track, and then there's a career transition track. And you, as a student, you pick and choose from modules from those different tracks and essentially build your own adventure for whatever is relevant at that point in time to advance whatever meaningful component of your professional advancement agenda you might have. That's kind of how PAC work, or I'm sorry, EL works, and how it dovetails with PAC. Now, we do a lot of other stuff too. These services, for career transition or professional advancement, they're all available at any time during the year, but we carve out a specific chunk of time where everyone has to work on this in some way, shape, or form. There's a comparable thing for the part-timers in their second year. Right now we have a boot camp, which is optional, not required. EL is required, but it's optional where you can come in on a couple of Saturdays and work on any meaningful component of your action plan that you want to. So we're trying to keep our bases covered.
I appreciate you talking about that. And for folks who have questions or curious about experiential learning, we actually had Laura Bordoni, who works closely with that course sequence and works closely with the career team on experiential learning. She was on the podcast talking about it. It was a
Fantastic.
great episode. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And she has such passion for helping students kind of grow and develop and sort of ask these big questions, not only about where they want to go with their career, but who they are. And I've really enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah,
So
we love Lauren.
yeah, Laura is great. So Jennifer, what are you looking forward to in the months ahead?
Well, given that Virginia has had historically cold weather for the last few weeks, I'm looking forward to it getting above freezing and being warm.
Here, here.
Um, so other than that, graduation is only a few months away. Between now and then, the career services team is planning an alumni networking event, students' second residency in Charlottesville, and then also some other upcoming events. Darden's career services are a mix of structured programming, such as PAC and EL, but also individual one-on-one coaching. For some of the other structured things we do next week, we have planned a LinkedIn workshop with a current EMBA student. And then also in the next week, we are going to offer a case interview workshop. So the spring will be about adding things that their student interested in that they need that we can do on a structured group basis, while both Jim and I also continue to meet with students one-on-one to help refine their destination and how to get there.
And we are very much looking forward to welcoming the ExecMBA class of 2028 and the part-time MBA class of 2029, meeting all you guys. We're going to be doing career kickoff meetings that will start in June, where we try to get to know you, try to understand what your vision is for your career, why you're coming to Darden, and create some sort of preliminary action plan for you and introduce you to the resources that are available, and allow you to get to know us. So that's a real high point for us in our annual cycle.
Well, that's one of the great things. I mean, we always look forward to welcoming the new classes, that May time period, right? So the classes have started to take a shape. Obviously, executive MBA, we tend to recruit into kind of June and July to fill the class. Sometimes with part-time MBA, we'll go into the summer months as well. But May graduation and then to the summer, you start to do a lot of pre-matriculation programming with incoming classes. That's always an exciting time in the school year. Well, Jim, final
Yeah.
piece of advice. We got some folks who are probably listening to this podcast, preparing to start school in August and maybe thinking about their careers, given the conversation here. What's one career tip you would give folks who are looking to start an MBA program in August?
I'm thinking about a variation of that quote from the Dos Equis beer commercial. Remember the most interesting man in the world. You remember that? And at the very end of each commercial goes, stay thirsty, my friend. So my variation on this is stay curious, my friend. Reach out and engage. This is a unique opportunity during your time at Darden to really open your aperture, as Jennifer mentioned earlier, explore very broadly, and we're pretty agnostic regarding the direction that the professional, MBA students go, but we're very passionate about, by the time you graduate, when that rolls around, you're making whatever choice you're making from a far more informed and standpoint, and a more proactive standpoint. So that's, I don't know, offhand, that's one piece of advice.
And I love that advice. Curiosity is really what it's all about. You think about just the networking that students do to kind of explore what they think they might want to do. It's all about being curious about people and their roles and their stories and how'd you get to this organization? What advice might you have for me? Curiosity is at the root of all of that.
Yeah. So stay curious, my friend.
Jennifer, how about you? Career tip for folks who are looking to start an MBA program this August?
Sure. I would say it's never too soon to start researching different career paths that may be out there. One of my favorite stories is every year when we have the launch week for you, whether that's LR1 or R1, students always tell me, "Oh, I just met somebody and they told me they do such and such for a living. I didn't even know that was a career. I'm going to learn more about that." Maybe the next day they have lunch with somebody else they don't know yet. And they said, I just learned that such and such is a career. I didn't know about that either, so I'm going to look into that. Once you start at Darden, we will definitely keep you busy. So I would say now, while you have more time, it's never too soon to start researching. For you, that can mean maybe going to automated library kind of resource. It should definitely include information interviews, just starting to learn what else is out there and starting to think about what things are of interest to you. And then when you go to launch week, enjoy meeting lots of new other students and learning what they do. And you'll probably have a chance to do more information interviews with them to understand yet what more options could be.
Yeah, and building on that, Jennifer, when I think about what career services does, we do career education, we do career coaching about all the tactical aspects associated with professional advancement, and we also connect people. So, we can be a significant resource in that exploration of career path alternatives. And I also think about this, I'm going to use kind of since we're getting into the Olympics, although it's Winter Olympics, not summer, kind of a race analogy. Everyone is running their own race. Each one is unique. And you think of this, the professional advancement you're seeking, whatever that looks like, think of it as more of a marathon than a sprint. And all you're trying to do is during your time at Darden, you just kind of keep kicking the can down the road, little bits, little bits, little bits, whether you're exploring, whether you're increasing your toolkit to engineer whatever transformation you're seeking, or to actually make that transition. Um, you do so through some sort of incremental process. What's the old saying? The way you eat an elephant is a bite at a time. And I think an elephant is a good metaphor because for most, those career transitions are sizable. So you just keep chipping away at it.
Well, Jim, Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was great talking with you as always. And it's always great to highlight the PAC course. I think it's such a differentiator for our professional degree programs here at Darden, the fact that students get credit for working on their careers and have dedicated time and space in the flow of curriculum. So thank you both for coming on the podcast. It's great to see you as always.
Oh, well, always a delight. Thanks for inviting us.
Thanks so much, Brett, for inviting us, and thanks for offering a podcast on this important topic.
And that was my conversation with Jim Collins and Jennifer Windus, two career coaches here at the Darden School of Business. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at exec, that's ExecMBA @darden.virginia.edu. Until next time, stay safe, be well, and thanks for listening.